14 members of an independent Pentecostal fellowship in Australia have, this year in 2025, been found guilty of manslaughter over the death of an 8-year-old girl suffering from diabetes. They had agreed together to withhold insulin from the girl while praying for God to heal her miraculously.
And we believe in the healing power of God.
We trust in God, so we don't think that she needs the needles.
Now, the situation is only a little more extreme than something that Pentecostals all over the world have faced at some point in their spiritual growth. That situation is the relationship between science and faith. The problem starts with a scriptural reference to faith being the evidence of something unseen. Now, it is true that any amount of faith involves risk because of the limited evidence available. If you tell me that someone is at the door asking for me, I have to believe you before I will get up from my comfortable seat and go see who it is that is the unseen element and what they want. I risk being tricked, but the risk is negligible by comparison to the risk that was involved in that Australian Pentecostal church's faith. The term blind faith is sometimes used for the faith that we think of as being unreasonable. Most people would agree that the people from that little church were too extreme in refusing to medicate the little girl. Now, I personally think that the line between extreme and reasonable depends on who it is that you are trusting. Everything else being equal, it might actually be unreasonable to question some demands made on your faith in certain circumstances, such as a person telling you that you are needed at the front door to speak with a visitor. But if the person telling you that is known for playing tricks, and if you know they wanted your seat in front of the television, it may make more sense to question the validity of their statement. Do you see how the circumstances can make a difference in whether to believe or not to believe? The problem with religious claims is that they virtually all bring God into the picture. We are told that God will miraculously reward extreme faith. So who are we to question him? Too often, followers fail to question whether God really did give the instructions that their leaders say he is giving. Yet that is what we need to do with all religious beliefs. That is, look for hard evidence that it is God who has made such demands on us, and not just the leaders of a particular religion. Are your beliefs based on reliable evidence that God taught them to begin with? And is there growing evidence that he is responding to your faith? Just because something is quoted from the Bible is not, in my opinion, evidence. I say that because it can be shown that just about all supposedly Christian religions claim to be based on the Bible, and just about all supposedly Christian religions distort stuff from the Bible to promote their teachings, even when it takes very little intelligence to spot the distortions. There is a classic illustration in the Bible where the devil himself tempted Jesus by quoting scripture to him. Surprisingly, the Bible even states that Jesus was tempted to accept the devil's challenge. Satan took Jesus up to the top of the temple in Jerusalem, and he said that people would take Jesus more seriously if he was to jump off, because, being the promised Messiah, God would catch Jesus and miraculously protect him from harm. But Jesus quoted another passage of Scripture where it says not to tempt God. The devil had not only tempted Jesus, but he had come close to getting Jesus to tempt his Father. Now, refusing to give insulin when you know it is a life-saving drug, while asking God to do a miracle, is definitely tempting God. We would not, for example, stop drinking water in an effort to force God to keep us alive without water. we would argue that God expects us to use what He has provided. So why shouldn't we do the same with something like insulin? The error has very likely grown from an unscriptural condemnation of medical science. Now, there are any number of extreme demands that God could inflict on His followers, but He only makes extreme demands in extreme circumstances. And even then, He usually provides evidence along the way to show that our faith is moving in the right direction, long before He forces a life and death decision that at least appears to violate common sense. If you look at where the anti-doctor and anti-medicine behaviors are leading, you should see that you would need abundant evidence in Scripture before you would support such positions. I see nothing that Jesus said against medical research, for example, as a way to gain better health. Now, I personally do believe in miracles and have experienced several. But it is the almost total lack of supernatural healings in the Pentecostal circles that most convinced me that the name it and claim it approach to miracles is unchristian. I don't have to refute all claims about miracles to observe with confidence that exaggerations and lies are commonplace in Pentecostal testimonies, where fake claims are recklessly taken as evidence, even when the person claiming to be healed is flat on their backs in bed. It's vital to their teaching that people be urged to say that they are healed even when they are not, supposedly as evidence of their faith. Now, most Pentecostals do recover, but almost always it is on par with recoveries from people who are not claiming miraculous recoveries, including outright atheists. Jesus' half-brother, James, instructed church leaders to anoint sick people with oil, as well as praying for them. Oil and wine were the extent of medical treatments in Bible times. Today, we might anoint the sick with such things as antibiotics, vaccines, or insulin. But I agree with James that we should also be praying for them. Several scriptures instruct us to lay hands on sick or injured people too. That could involve bandaging or stitching up a wound, putting a broken limb in a cast, performing surgery, or just massaging a sore muscle. See, science is not the enemy, even if it has been used in bad ways by others. You don't stop eating because some people overeat. Nor should we stop using technology just because others abuse it. Oil and wine were the technology of the day. Yet it was exactly what the Good Samaritan is commended for having given to the man who had been left to die by robbers. The Good Samaritan also paid for limited nursing care at a local inn for the robbery victim. So what I am preaching for here is a combination of the two, with science and prayer working together to achieve the best results. That seems to be what that little church missed in Australia. I pray that the members can see this and adjust their faith without losing it, and without needing to double down on a crusade against medical science. Now, it is worth noting that the judge who found them guilty of manslaughter also said that he was convinced that these people had a genuine love for the little girl who died. It was a tragedy for everyone concerned, but maybe some good can be learned from it, thus enabling us as Christians to be more helpful to more people in future. God bless you, and thank you for listening.